Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Tom Hogan, the coordinator of the Milwaukie Poetry Series, and I really want to say a big thank you to see you all here because in addition to having a special program tonight, which we are, it's going to be a wonderful evening, there are so many demands on our time, and there are other things that you could be doing, and you're choosing to be here with us and experience the things that Allie has to tell us. So thank you for being here. I also want to welcome those of you who are on the live stream. So the same is true for you. Thank you for taking your time to log in to this event tonight. We are very grateful. How we're going to proceed tonight is that I'm going to make a little bit more of a welcome, and I'm going to introduce Kim Stafford. Kim is going to introduce Allie. Allie is going to talk with us roughly half an hour. Then we're going to have a conversation, questions and answers after that, ending somewhere around 8:45. We'll just kind of see how that goes. But that's kind of a blueprint for the evening. We are recording, so this will be up usually in about a week on YouTube. Some things I want to say. If you would silence your electronic devices, that would be great. And thank you for doing that. I want to make some thanks too before I introduce Kim, because I really need to thank the people who worked on this. A big thanks to the library and to the library director, Fred Husher. He could use a big hand. Because the library is keeping staff here tonight for us. We're going a little bit later, which is fine. And we'll be open the library and to do that. So a huge thanks to them. A big thanks to our tech person here from Willamette Falls Media. Josh is back here, and Josh is a magician. So he's the one that makes it all work. Also, thanks to the city of Milwaukie and to the Milwaukie Poetry Series. As you know, you don't have things happen unless you have a group of people working on it. So I'd like to, if the people that have worked on this tonight, could you stand? Kristen and Melanie, my lovely wife Jane. And where's Jane? Right here. Jane stepped up and helped us tonight when we needed, we were a little short, so thank you very much for doing that. And finally, a huge thanks to Kim Stafford. So for Kim's role in putting this all together. So we are very grateful. And let me say a little bit more about Kim by way of introduction of him. So it's always a great pleasure to introduce Kim, to talk about Kim. Kim was our second reader when the Milwaukie Poetry Series started out. That was in December of 2007. And it was interesting at the time, I didn't know that Kim played the guitar. And so Kim had his poetry reading, and then he pulled out a guitar. And it was just, it was wonderful. So I don't know if you remember that night. I certainly do. So thank you very much. He was also our last reader here before COVID came, and we had to take a little break. So we appreciate that very much. I think many of you know that he is the emeritus professor at Lewis and Clark in Oregon. He writes, teaches, and travels to raise the human spirit through poetry. In 1986, he founded the Northwest Writing Institute, and he has published a dozen books of poetry and prose, including, and this is the list of a few, The Muses Among Us, Eloquent Listening and Other Pleasures of the Writer's Craft, and 100 Tricks Every Boy Can Do, How My Brother Disappeared. His most recent book is the poetry collection As the Sky Begins to Change. He has taught writings in dozens of schools and community centers, and in Scotland, Italy, Morocco, and Bhutan. In 1918, here's another emeritus that he is. In 1918, he was named Oregon's 9th Poet Laureate for a 2-year term. so he is now a poet laureate emeritus. Would you join me in welcoming Kim Stafford, who is going to introduce Ali?
Wow, emeritus twice over. That's something. So I was last in this room, as Tom said. My last reading as Oregon Poet Laureate. The pandemic, what were we in for? And I remember saying as I ended the reading, please keep your distance from each other. But that was hopeless. People began embracing. This is what happens when poetry fills a room. And I realized we have to all go home until this is over. We've been through many hard things since then. And yet we have arrived at this magic moment when our friend Ali and his wife Maryam have heroically traveled through difficult portals to reach us. I want to thank Wallace for he's the travel agent extraordinaire who engineered this, arranged for flights, hotels, and is going to drive from here to Newport for some deep sea fishing for Maryam. What do you want to do in America? I want to go fishing. This is what we should be doing. This is how we should travel. We are gathered in a kind of peace conference with not only Alireza Taghdarreh from Tehran, the translator of Walden, and very recently of Emerson's very dense essay, Nature. How many people have tried to read Nature? Anyone? Maybe it would be easier in Persian. I don't know. But Ali and I and Wallace and many others, we've been on email for 10 years, delving into difficult sentences. And what does Emerson mean? I often would throw up my hands. Make it clearer in Persian, please. So this is a kind of peace conference that starts here and will continue as we search for ways to do the obvious, to be kin on earth with our past, with those around us now, and with our future. Ali is a self-directed, self-propelled, solo translator. He doesn't have support from the government, from a university. He teaches English online. He helps young people learn a world language that will connect them with the world. And his only problem that we have with him is he stays up all night working. Wallace and I say we get emails from the middle of the night. So we wish him rest and success, and we are so grateful, Ali, that you are here with us. Please. So Ali is going to read a series of thoughts and then maybe talk about Omar Khayyam. And then we want your questions. Ali may have questions for you. You may have questions for Ali. And I think that's the main event tonight, to have a conversation while our precious friend is here for a very short time. Please welcome Alireza Taghdarreh.
Thank you. Rumi says, seek water less, cultivate more thirst. So when I'm reading Nature, for example, I try to mostly try to find more questions in it, the things that I don't understand. And this leads to a whole of subjects for endless discussions with my friends through years. Henry David Thoreau, the American classic writer, once said, "The greatest compliment that was ever paid me was when one asked me what I thought and attended to my answer." In American literature, I have asked many questions of Thoreau and Emerson over the past 2 decades of my life and attended to their answers. But my attentiveness is not merely a compliment to these two individuals. It is a tribute to the nation that gave rise to them, and through them offered something enduring to the human community. I have come here today to announce the completion of the translation of Ralph Waldo Emerson's Nature into Persian, the language that we speak in Iran. In Nature, Emerson writes, "If the stars should appear one night in 1,000 years, how would men believe and adore and preserve for many generations the remembrance of the city of God, which had been shown? But every night come out these envoys of beauty and light the universe with their admonishing smile. Given the tragedies that separate us in sorrow and sadness across countries and cultures in today's world, tonight's impossible meeting feels as if we are visiting each other after 1,000 nights to see the stars in each other's sky in surprise and wonder. The soulful study of American literature brought me so close to you that without even having seen you before, I feel I have been missing you. Missing the people in this room. Have you ever missed peoples you have never met? People you've never spoken to, whose names you've never heard, yet somehow their absence stirs your soul. That is how I feel about America, about you. One day, about 2 centuries ago, the words of the Persian poet Sa'di touched the souls of Emerson and Thoreau. In America, Emerson and Thoreau became fascinated by Sa'di and wrote about him. It was through this quiet connection, this literary echo between Sa'di and the transcendentalists, that I first came closer to America. Sa'di is, I believe, still an essential part of our daily life in Iran. It's not limited to schools or universities. My bond with Sa'di led me to Emerson and Thoreau, to the classical voices of American literature. From there, the path opened toward contemporary American letters and ultimately to you here today. The essay Nature, which is Emerson's dialogue with the cosmos, has long been a companion to me. And now I offer it in my mother tongue to my nation, hoping it may greet new thoughts to my people and stir unseen friendships across cultures. In his last book, which was a dual biography of Omar Khayyam and Edward Fitzgerald called Nearer the Heart's Desire, Emerson's renowned biographer, Dr. Robert Richardson, said to Alireza Taghdarreh, whose translation of Walden into Persian demonstrates how the Silk Road of the mind now is a two-way street. In that simple phrase, Dr. Richardson dignified not only the journey of ideas, but the quiet reciprocity at the heart of cultural dialogue between nations and cultures. I consider our literary congregation today a multicultural celebration, an international feast marking the publication of Emerson's Nature as an important work of American literature in Persian in Iran. With these translations, two nations are connected. we could say that we are now one book closer to each other. Yet, let us journey towards each other. Yes, let us journey towards each other one book at a time. In nature, Emerson speaks of a world within the human soul and writes, "But beauty in nature is not ultimate. It is the herald of inward and eternal beauty, and is not alone a solid and satisfactory good." According to Emerson, the outside world, however boundless, leads to a still more boundless universe within the human soul. It is striking that long before Emerson, the Persian classical poet Hafiz had already spoken of such an inner world to me, saying, "Of the hidden fire burning in my breast, the sun is but a small flame burning in the sky." Of the hidden fire burning in my breast, the sun is but a small flame burning in the sky. زین آتش نهفته که در سینه من است، خورشید شعله است که در آسمان گرفت. In what I believe is one of the most profound paradoxes in the world literature, Hafiz is showing us here that the most hidden secret in the universe is at the same time the most obvious, shining above us every day, yet rarely seen for what it truly is. The significance of my translation of both Thoreau's Walden and Emerson's Nature lies in the fact that they are the result of long conversations between me and American friends. Conversations that help me understand cultural nuances, linguistic complexities, and literary subtleties that cannot be grasped by language alone. Thoreau writes, "Shall the world be confined to one Paris or one Oxford forever? Cannot students be boarded here and get a liberal education under the skies of Concord?" I received my education in Thoreau and Emerson, not in Paris and Oxford, but in the free university Thoreau foresaw, under the skies of Concord. And later under skies across the United States, wherever generous scholars were willing to answer my seemingly endless questions about these books. After a long time of conversations with the late Dr. Robert Richardson, he wrote in a letter to me that because of your focus of your intensive focus on details in this book, because we had long conversations and questions and answers with each other. You are more of a teacher than I am because you made me a better reader of this book. He told me that he was a humble man and taught me that he was a lifetime student himself. Yes, the name Silk Road of the Mind is fitting for what he called my translations of Walden and Nature. For although my translations are in Persian, they are the result of my long back and forth conversations with a host of American scholars. Without such long discussions on nuances of words, meanings in these literary works, I would not have been able to continue this journey alone. My translation of Nature is not merely a linguistic bridge. It is a collective endeavor across cultural listening and a shared walk along that Silk Road of the mind. At the end of our long conversation on Emerson nature, the late Dr. Richardson taught me one of life's most unique lessons by telling me this. It struck me last night that you are as much the teacher here as I am, perhaps more so, since your avid and focused attention to detail makes me much more careful a leader. And then he thanked me for answering my questions for months, years, and said, thank you. Richardson taught me to be humble and remain a lifelong student. In the presence of his wisdom, I learned that scholarship is not a pursuit of mastery, but a practice of listening. That's why Rumi says, seek water less, cultivate thirst. Dr. Richardson passing does not mark the end of this Silk Road of the mind we once dreamed together. Our being together today in this intimate gathering stands as a quiet testament that literature across languages and borders offers one of the strongest foundations for friendship, peace, and love among individuals and nations alike. Even if our nations do not wish to get along, we as individuals are getting along. Yesterday, we began a conversation about Rumi at a local bookstore here in Portland and made a memory together. I would like to have more of those conversations with each of you. I would like to connect our yesterday's and today's conversations with the following reflections on life, presenting them as part of a larger, ongoing dialogue, a sample conversation that has been unfolding between humanity's poets across cultures and within souls. I give you an example that I have felt of an example dialogue that I think have been going on between our poets, at least in my mind. On the origin and end of life, Pascal says, man is equally incapable of seeing the nothingness from which he emerges and the infinity in which he is engulfed. This is expressed in the rigid and exacting language of philosophy. That was Pascal. Nabokov, the Russian-American writer, expresses the same fact in the more tender and imaginative language of literature. The cradle rocks above an abyss, and common sense tells us that our existence is but a brief crack of light between two eternities of darkness. Although the two are identical twins, man, as a rule, views the prenatal abyss with more calm than the one he is heading for at some 4,500 heartbeats an hour. Omar Khayyam uses a poetic language of his rubaiyat to express the same existential mystery. He says, this is a literal translation. This happens, it's my own translation, and it happens to be literal. I don't think literal translations are necessarily good, but this is literal anyway. Oh, in the circle we come and go round. Beginning and end may never be found. No one breathes a true word around. where we start and for where we are bound. In Persian, دوری که در او آمدن و رفتن ماست، آن را نه نهایت نه بدایت پیداست. کس می نزند دمی در این معنی راست، کین آمدن از کجا و رفتن به کجاست. In the circle we come and go round, beginning and end may never be found. No one breathes a true word around, where we start and for where we are bound. From the heart of Indian literature, Tagore offers this reflection. Death is not, he views death from another angle. Death is not extinguishing the light. It is only putting out the lamp because the dawn has come. But to Rumi, life is not merely a brief crack of light, as Nabokov expressed, between two eternities of darkness. It is nothing but absolute light. He says, it is far beyond all conceptions and imaginations. It is the light of the light of the light of the light of the light. The sixfold repetition of the word light is all Rumi's, without even a crack of darkness. He believed that we see objects in this light, and in his view, we see this light in another light, and that light in another light, and that light in another light. So the more distant we get away from colors, we reach a bright unity, because colors are the interpretations of objects of light. Thoreau says that one reason for him, so that was a conversations between histories, poets, and philosophers. These are conversations. We cannot, I always believe, however rich the culture in which we live, if we do not pay attention to other cultures through meaningful comparisons and contrasts, we still live in a cultural vacuum. We cannot understand each other without paying attention to others. That's why comparative literature is always a fascinating subject for me. What Nabokov says here is part of the same truth that Rumi is speaking about. If you completely reject Nabokov, you will not understand even Rumi, although they seem to speak of contradictory facts. In reading Walden and translating it, the translation is not as important as the reading itself for me. Because in Walden, you are translating a book which its author says that those who speak the same language as he do not understand it. He says that the books written in ancient Greek or ancient Persian or will not be understood by people who speak Greek as an accident of birth. Understanding those books demands a poetical perception. Speaking Persian in your daily life does not mean that you can understand the poetry of Hafiz, which happens to be in Persian. So translation will not necessarily help. It's a truth we should understand. So I have had my own long conversation. It's not the translation that took for me 10 years to do. I have had my own long conversations For example, Thoreau says that one reason for him for going into the woods was to watch the seasons come. And remember, he says that he went to the woods to live deliberately. So when he says he wants to see the seasons come, it's very important for us to notice when the seasons come to him. If he goes into nature and finds that the spring has come later than the people who are living in the city, what's the use of it? What kind of a deliberate life would it be? So he says that he went into the woods to watch seasons come. Let us have our conversations with each other today. And let me ask you, living through New England's infamously cold winter, when do you think Thoreau felt the first signs of the spring? Because he went into the woods to feel the first signs of the spring, not the same springs that people see and feel in the town. When would spring arrive for a thoughtful and perceptive man like Thoreau when he is in the woods? Thoreau claimed that he went into the woods to live deliberately. In his deliberate way of life, when do you think he sensed the arrival of the season spring? In one place in Walden, he says, "The first sparrow of the spring, the year beginning with younger hope than ever." I was tempted to believe that this is when and where Thoreau captures the spring. But because on the Western calendar, the year begins with winter. It's for us in Iran, as Persians, that this is where Thoreau becomes very Persian. Because for us, it takes a long time for us to grow up and realize that elsewhere in the world, it is the winter that marks the beginning of the year. For us, it's always the beginning of spring. As the trees begin to breathe, we start our new year. So we feel that Thoreau was Iranian, only he happens to speak English here in the sentence. There are many instances that we feel united with Thoreau. But I realized that, in my opinion, it's somewhere else. My latest discovery in Walden shows that he discovers his spring in somewhere else. I don't know if you happened to live with Thoreau in the woods in those days, when would you think he felt the coming of the spring? Walden is full of such questions for me. I find less such questions with nature. Walden cultivates more thirst in me than nature. Yes. I can share with you my own answer, but I don't know what yours would be. The coming of the spring. Is the coming of the spring important to you? To me, it's where, it doesn't take much genius to see the spring when the birds are singing, or when the trees are blooming. In one sentence, I can tell you that this is the second sentence I heard from Thoreau in my life. He says, and I read it in a dictionary when I was looking up a word. I don't know what word it was. He says, "The cracking and booming of the ice indicates a change in temperature." To me, this marks the coming of the spring, or at least the hope that with it the spring comes. When you're having a hard time, you discover the first signs earlier, sooner than others. This is where I believe that when you live in a difficult situation, when you are more thirsty, you sense the water sooner than others. I love this sentence. This seems like a very ordinary sentence. But when you consider it in the context of the whole book, it rises and becomes an exceptionally beautiful sentence in your life. It's impossible to understand single words and sentences in Walden without considering it in the whole book. You have to have a good presence of mind and carry the whole book in your mind to understand its single elements. Thank you. And in the poem, in the Rubai of Khayyam I read you, in the circle we come and go round, beginning and end may never be found. Here, one of history's greatest mathematicians, Omar Khayyam, is speaking about a circle without a beginning or an end. In the circle we come and go round, beginning and end may never be found. No one breathes a true word around where we start and for where we are bound. But please remember, the one who writes this poem, is the man who helped to create the most accurate calendar in human history. He is the one who's been telling Iranians for 1,000 years on what second spring starts and the year ends. He can wonder like a philosopher and be accurate like a mathematician. This is what makes up the Persian spirit. We are a mixture of contradictory yet well-coordinated characteristics. That's what I love about my own culture, if I may. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question while others think of their questions. What is the best way as Americans we can contribute to the Silk Road of the mind? The exchange, the kind of experience we are having with you.
I think it goes back to the first line, to the beginning of my talk, to the line I read from Rumi. Acquire thirst.
Acquire
Thirst. I have been thirsty for your literature. My thirst, my interest in Walden, in nature, in Thoreau's other essays, in Emily Dickinson's poetry, brought me here among you today. Emerson says, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. This is the first sentence I heard from Emerson. Let us have enthusiasm to know each other. Let us be thirsty for what each of us has for the other. I don't know in what way. Well, Rumi is the most popular, or at least one of the most popular poets in America. That makes Iranians always wonder. At least for one moment they breathe and say, oh, so they see something positive here, and we have something positive for them. So we can connect. And Is there a better tool than literature to connect human soul with each other's?
I asked Ali, his mother knew the poetry from her parents who were illiterate. So I asked, how did they know Sadiq and Rumi? Because everyone was singing. So music and poetry went together.
Yeah, we have an Iranian friend here. Yes, one generation ago, people simply didn't allow those poems to be forgotten. They transferred it in time to each other to keep them alive. The fact that we still speak the same language in which Omar Khayyam wrote his Ruba'is 1,000 years ago is a miracle. I think Persian may be the only language with this unique characteristic. You may not have gone to any school in Iran, but you understand Rumi's poetry. When you're first in love, you search for a poem from Rumi to express it to your love. Sadi is still very much cited among ordinary illiterate people in Iran. So far, we have repeated them so many times that they have not been forgotten. And we do speak the same language that Sa'di, Khayyam, Rumi spoke many centuries ago.
So listening to you, I'm wondering if readers in Iran may have a deeper experience of Walden than readers in America because of your translation. I'll just leave you with that. We need to see if there are other questions. Questions for Ali.
I don't know what it takes for you to see Walden deeper. I don't think because of my translation it would happen.
How will we find out?
It's something that happens in the individual mind and soul. We cannot. It's enough for him to talk. You should be patient with Walden. It's a book that takes time. And as Emerson said, nothing great will ever be achieved without enthusiasm. You cannot understand Walden if you read it without enthusiasm. I love Walden with all its difficulty.
Questions? Yes, please.
That's an Iranian friend reciting a poem from Khayyam. Yes. You just saw how passionately he... بهرام که گور می‌گرفتی گور بهرام گرفت. At least he tries. That's an example. He may not recite it very accurately, but the poem exists in him. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if Walden crept into your dreams. And if so, how?
Does Walden come into your dreams?
Thoreau says the best hours of our lives is when you are awake and dream. That's what he says. So we are dreaming in what? Yeah.
Follow-up question then. How
Whenever I thought about Walden, I noticed that he is dragging me away from my daily life. That's my experience. And Walden came to me in very scattered sentences I saw in dictionaries, sometimes in newspapers, sometimes I heard on radios, and I didn't know Walden was a book. It was a mysterious name for me. Where do these strange and profound sentences come from? What is this Walden? It was a really very long journey. And I'm very glad I found this book. At first, I was fascinated by Thoreau for his attention to Saadi, but later I noticed it's not fair. I love him for his own sake now, to be more fair with him. So Walden changes the way you lead your daily life and deepens, enriches each moment of your life. Remember, as if you could kill time without injuring eternity. It makes me think about every small step I take in life, every small act, every behavior, every habit, to evaluate it, to find more meaning in each and everything you do in your everyday life. What I usually do is sentences stay in my mind. I do not try to memorize them. They stay. I cannot forget them. And what happens is that I could have brought many, many examples of the way Thoreau is speaking to Persian poets and mystics in my mind. Meaningful comparisons and contrasts. I thought it would bore the audience today. But I would love to continue this discussion. Walden is a book, is a written book. The best conversation about Walden can happen in writing, I believe. See what Thoreau says about the nature of oral conversation and writing. The part Thoreau describes these two aspects of our behavior are really very profound. So I would be delighted if we can continue. I am very patient with Walden. I can continue long discussions with you and share my experience and understanding about this miraculous book with you from your culture. Are you an American? Yeah. So I am an American too, as long as I read Walden with you. Yes.
It's 8:25. We have had a small taste that has increased our thirst. And Miriam and Ali have to get to the coast tonight. We want to clean up this room. If you want to be in touch with Ali, please write your email on here.
Just one. I would be very glad to continue this conversation through emails. One last very interesting point about the thirst that Rumi speaks about. He says, remember that just as you are thirsty and seek water, water is also seeking you. It's waiting for you. Water is waiting for the thirsty. And he always admired fish because they are so thirsty that they are never fed with or their thirst is never saturated by even drinking the whole ocean. Because God is boundless and needless, according to Rumi, he is seeking boundless needs and boundless demands from us. Truth is seeking us, just as we are seeking the truth. So is Thoreau looking for us in Walden? Is Walden searching for us? Whatever thirst we bring to these great books, they have the answer. They have the water for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As Kim said, they're heading to the beach. We have some refreshments here. Please feel free to have some refreshments and stay for a bit. Yes.
Tom, can I offer one thing? This is absolutely fabulous. I reminded my days studying philosophy in graduate school, and I'd love to continue this. I'd love to learn more about what's going on in Iran and so forth. And if there's any way that we could organize a follow-up or two, I'm happy to do that.
That was my question of how we could do that.
I got my visa. A travel ban was announced on Iran. So I may be the last person who came to this country from that country. So if we lose each other, we may not be able to find each other again. So let's grab the opportunity and see if we can continue our conversation through emails at least.
Yeah. Talk to Kim and we'll organize this. If everybody is signed the list, everybody will be notified.
Yeah.
That would be my honor.
So Kim,
If it's possible for either Kim or a visitor from Iran to tell us how it happens that an Iranian can come here and speak to us. Our countries are at such loggerheads now, and we need this contact to such a high degree. I just wonder how it happens that you are here and
I go
visiting.
back to Rumi again and say, just as the thirsty seek water, water is seeking the thirsty too. So, just because I wanted to be here, I'm here. Because I really wanted to come here to America for its literature, not for anything else. For its literary joy.
so can Kim take some responsibility for some email?
List and we'll stay in touch.
Yeah.
We may do a Zoom
Every
someday.
email will make me happy. We
Well,
have
wonderful.
been in touch through emails with this man for 20 years. Most of the time on a daily basis. My wife cried when she saw me.
Wow.
He came here from there.
You came here from Massachusetts.
Yes, from the East Coast.
Spoke to the Thoreau Society.
I love what you said about the eyes being what determine what you see.
Oh,
Making
you
a
heard my
moment of no inspiration.
Thank you very much.
This is critical. So thank you. We rely on our groundhog.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Ali. Can we give him another hand, please, on this? For the